Joining me right now is Rafferty Capital Markets Equity Research Analyst Dick Bove. Dick, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria.
I was really enjoying one of your reports a couple of weeks ago when you said, when this first broke, you said this is hardly over, this is just the beginning. Should we be questioning the business models of the banks? Then I want to get your take specifically on Wells.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that basically what the banks are being told is that they cannot cross-sell, and they certainly can't give incentives to their employees to go out and cross-sell products. That would make banking the only industry in the history of the United States that's not able to take these practices on. But the government now believes that they are predatory practices, and they are going to take moves to stop it, to stop the banks from doing this. How
much worse can the situation get for Wells Fargo?
Oh, it's going to get a lot worse. I mean, I think that basically what we need to see is the Wells is taking the appropriate step by bringing in Sherman Sterling to take a look at its operating practices. But once Sherman Sterling comes up with its decision, it's going to see that the Human Resources Department is going to have to be completely revised with new procedures and policies. Underwriting has got to be changed. There's going to be a change in the control system that allows them to monitor the accounts, in addition to which their risk management is going to change. And I would not be surprised to see more than one person removed from the top executive crew of the company.
Dick, it's Dagan McDowell. The Democratic lawmakers in the Senate and Congress also want Wells to toss out those mandatory arbitration clauses that are in kind of the customer contracts so the customers can sue Wells more readily. What's the financial impact potentially of that?
Well, you know, the financial impact will be relatively moderate because think about it. If you lost $25 to Wells Fargo because they opened an account, how much money are you willing to pay a lawyer to sue? I mean, what was the material harm that you received? The issue is you will now probably join some type of group of people who will sue, and then that will go to court. It'll stay in court for 5 or 6 years, and at some point some fine will be paid. But I don't think that's the major issue that's really going to harm Wells Fargo here. What's really going to harm Wells Fargo is if it has to change its selling practices. Similar to the Morgan Stanley case, if they have to change their selling practices, it will reduce their revenue growth. It will hurt their earnings.
Dick, you said you expected some senior people to lose their jobs over this. What about Wells CEO John Stumpf? Is he going to stick around? And can you give us some sense of how he has been seen on Wall Street? Aside from these practices, which everybody agrees is deplorable, was he doing a good job of leading this bank in the views of the market?
Yeah, I like John Stumpf. I thought he was doing an excellent job in leading the company. I think that his ability to steal Wachovia, which is a bank bigger than Wells Fargo, away from Citigroup and acquire it, and then to turn around Wells Fargo and make it Wachovia and make it far more profitable, I thought was a huge achievement. I thought his ability to move into the capital markets arena so successfully was a big achievement. I thought his ability to get control of the cost of the company was another major achievement. So I think John Stumpf was doing a really good job, but this thing is, I think, going to kill him. I think that it's too difficult to overcome all of what Congress said last week, all of what the media feels about him, all of the things that are happening which suggest that he won't be able to lead the company. I even think that Warren Buffett has turned his back on Wells Fargo at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're all waiting for that shoe to drop. So you do think that John Stumpf will be forced to resign. What's going on with Warren Buffett? He won't come out and publicly say what we know. He's said for a long time that if you hurt the reputation of one of my investments, I will be ruthless. So you think he's going to sell the stock, or he's going to push for the removal of John Stumpf?
I don't think he can sell the stock because he owns too much stock. He owns 10.3%. So whether he likes it or not, he has to tough it through this situation. I think, however, he has turned his back on John Stumpf. I think he's livid with what has gone on in the company because he's put his reputation up against the fact that this was the best-run bank in the United States, and clearly it may not have been. Yeah. So the net effect is I think he's not going to assist John in any way.
Would you sell banks under a Hillary Clinton presidency?
Actually, I think Hillary is going to wind up to be favorable to banks. She was the senator from New York. She was spent 6 years or so, you know, supporting whatever the banks wanted in Congress. So even though she's been pushed way to the left in terms of her verbiage, particularly yesterday, I think once she's president, all that goes out the window, and her relationships with the banks go back to what they were historically.
Interesting. Dick, great to see you as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Dick Bove joining us there from Rafferty.